Everyone. Today we're going to be talking about anxiety around drop-offs, school drop-offs, daycare drop-offs, day home drop-offs, all the drop-offs that cause a lot of tears in our kiddos. My name is Tammy Schmoon, and I'm a registered child psychologist. I'm a parent of 3 kids, one of which is quite anxious, as well as the co-founder of the Institute of Child Psychology. This is a really hard one for parents because we feel a lot of guilt when we leave our kiddos with the teacher, with the daycare professionals, and they are in tears and they don't want to let us go. Our heart absolutely breaks for them. But the first thing I want you to consider is your emotional state when you drop your kiddos off. Do you believe they are in capable hands? Do you trust their teacher? Do you trust the day home provider? If the answer is yes, then we have to convey that confidence. You have to believe your child is going to be okay and that you trust the person they are going to be with. So when we're handing them off with confidence, we have to be able to say to our kids, honey, I know you're going to be okay. This is really hard, but Mrs. Jensen or Kristen, whoever the teacher or the adult is who's taking care of them, they are going to make sure you're very well taken care of all day today. So again, kids are taking their emotional cues from us. And if we are really rattled with the drop off, they are going to be really rattled with the drop off, right? And if we're hovering over top of them and we're really angsty and really worried, they're going to see that and they're going to cling even harder because everything about our body is basically saying, I'm not okay with this drop off either. So number one, we're going to note our own emotional response. We're going to work on our own regulation, and we're going to convey with our words and our tone of voice that we believe that they're going to be okay. The next thing we want to think about is, does that child have a person? So often we put kids in the care of a stranger where there's no relationship, and it makes a lot of sense why they're so anxious. Or they're in like a daycare where a different person responds to them every single time. Our kids were meant to be taken care of by many adults, not just the parents. So first of all, don't feel guilty about that. But we need to do some matchmaking. We want to ensure that when our child becomes anxious or they fall and skin their knee, that as often as possible, they have a go-to teacher or a go-to person. This is often why daycares aren't always the best fit for a lot of kids because there are so many different providers within the institution, even though they're all lovely. Your child doesn't have a consistent person. That's why I often recommend kids who are very sensitive move into maybe a day home or a nanny share or something like that. Obviously, if they're in school, we want to make sure they're partnered with a teacher that they trust. And if they don't get along well with their teacher, we might want to consider, moving classes or at least pairing them with a school counselor that they trust, someone whom they have a relationship with when they become dysregulated. So they want to have that go-to person. The same person is checking in with them when they have really big feelings. So we want a surrogate attachment figure when they're in the daycare or at school. So same person if we can, as much as possible when they become dysregulated. And when we first introduce them to that person, get to know that person. Make sure you know a few things about them. What's their favorite color? What do they have in common with you? And for maybe that first day, we can hang around a little bit and indicate with our body language, our eye contact, our warmth, and our voice that we approve of this person. So we're there for the first little bit to kind of hand them off that person, get to know that person. This is why it's very helpful a few weeks before a new school year starts that we have a picture of that teacher. We know a few things about them. And I know in Canada, a lot of teachers are really good about doing this, but you may have to, a week before school, see if you can track down this information if it's not a policy for that school. Also, think about transitional objects. So when your child is away from you, is there something that they can take with them and let the teacher or daycare provider know this that reminds them of you so they can hold on to you when they're not with you? This could be an item of your clothing. It could be a stuffed animal, a picture of your family, just something that they have to kind of take with them. We can also have transitional routines, these rituals that we have that children can hold on to us when we're apart psychologically and emotionally a little bit. So we could try reading the book, The Kissing Hand or The Invisible String. And then if you read these books, you'll know what I'm talking about, where we wrap maybe this invisible string around our finger and then our child's finger, and then we say we can feel them when they pull on that string. or we put a kiss in their hand and they put that kiss in their pocket. I know with my son, every morning he blows a kiss to me. I catch it and put it in my pocket. I blow a kiss to him. He puts it in his pocket, and then we call them invisible squishy hugs, where I squish, my whole body, and so I hug my body. He hugs his body, and so we're hugging from like across when there's space. And my son is now in the 3rd grade, and he's been doing this since kindergarten. We just have these rituals that make our kids feel more connected to us, and they can hold on to that connection a little bit longer. I know my business partner Tanya has done bracelets where all the family members, they make bracelets together, and they all wear their bracelets. And then we can tell our kids that, when you touch the bracelet, you're thinking about them, or you can feel them, or things like that. That can be helpful. You can give them paint rocks together, and they can take the rock with them. There's a lot of things that we can do to make drop-offs easier. One of the things I recommend is giving the child a distraction. So when the teacher gives them a job to do, maybe it's cutting out things or helping with a younger child who's struggling, if they're in a daycare, for instance, or cleaning tables. Just having that job to do can help children distract in a really healthy way, because they also have some autonomy because they're helping the teacher. I often recommend, when I used to teach kindergarten before I became a psychologist, that kids who are really struggling, I would have the parents come into the classroom, but not hanging out with their child. I would give them a job to do. So they would be cutting out things for the bulletin board, or they are cleaning tables. And the idea is the child then has the parent there as safety, but the parent is engaging in busy work, which to the child is the parent is playing. Then the child will then go play in a parallel way. They'll go off and play with their friends, or play in the water center, or read a book. And it's easier for the parent then to exit. And it's a very quick goodbye, or the parent quietly can exit as well. It just makes that parallel play process, where the parent is doing something busy on the other side of the room, can make that transition a little bit easier for said kiddo who may be struggling. And then another thing that I really, really like is for our kiddos is we can point them to the next point of connection. So instead of saying goodbye, which can be a bit of a slap in the face for kids, we talk about or draw a picture. We can do like a comic strip that shows them all the things they're going to do throughout that day. But what's really important is that last kind of image. Maybe there's a series of 6 images where we talk about what we're going to do when we connect later that day. So instead of just saying goodbye, it's I will see you after school when we have a snuggle on the couch and eat our snack. Or think about, when we say goodbye and you're saying, bye, cute, sweetheart, I hope you have a wonderful day. I can't wait for our bedtime story tonight. So we're pointing their attention to the next time we're going to connect, and we can paint that picture really visually for them so they can hold on to that image. And what I often recommend is you draw it, so they can take that drawing with them, or you can have those series of images. Like the first image, you can do it like take a piece of paper, make it into 6 kind of quadrants. And the first picture might be what the separation looks like at drop off. The next one is them doing an activity at school. Then there might be a point of kind of connection psychologically, like they can make a phone call at lunch, or they draw you a picture or write you a note at lunch, or it's a picture of you thinking about them on your lunch break. And then the next picture might be them transitioning out of school or daycare. The 5th picture would be your reconnection, you giving them a big hug as they get off the bus. And then the last picture is maybe you snuggling up and reading a book, or having a snack on the couch, or going swimming together. Something they have to look forward to with you later in that day is going to really help with this. So I'm hoping some of those pointers can get you in the right direction. Again, school drop-offs or anxiety around drop-offs are normal, especially for the first month when it's a new place. If you want to learn more, please subscribe to the Institute of Child Psychology. We have a whole channel here on how to help your child with their anxious feelings, whether it comes to food, things that we can feed our children, how to manage transitions, how to deal with anxious thinking, many, many different topics, as well as other parenting videos that might help you in your parenting journey.